this is Rufus. Okay, I'm Scott Sabo. Been going to Trinity since, it's been about 3 years now, a little over 3 years. I'm a small group leader. I actually have two separate ones. I have a Wednesday night one, and then I also have what I call basketball ministry on Monday nights. And then I also greet, right now I'm not greeting because of the whole COVID thing, but I greet between the second service and third service. So I'm married. Renee's my wife, and I was raised in a Baptist home, and when I was 8 years old, sort of just did it on my own. I just sort of asked Jesus in my heart, as a little kid would do. And I went forward the next day, because that was sort of the thing that they did at the Baptist church. And they was like, well, why are you coming forward? I said, well, I asked Jesus in my heart last night, and I want to get baptized. And sort of just going through the motions. So my parents had great intentions, they followed, if the church said this, the pastor said this, the religion said this, that's what we did. We had, we didn't go to movies. We didn't go to the video store and get movies and that type of thing. And, no parties when I was in high school, and, can't play cards because that's gambling. So we had a lot of convictions in our home, and which are good. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but it was like I wanted to do my thing. And I rebelled a little bit, through my high school years and even my middle school years and such, because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I have so many stories, and we're not going to get into it, but I have so many stories of, I'm telling my parents, we just went on vacation not too long ago, and I was telling my mom about it. I never knew about that. I'm like, well, yeah, because I never told you about it. So there's still stuff that she probably doesn't know that I did growing up and stuff, but she's like, right now, her and I are we're like this. We're close. Okay. I graduated, like I said, from the school, the Baptist school in Toledo, and I ended up going off to college, and I didn't do well. I was like, oh, let's party, let's do it. I'm on my own and stuff. And I think I made it one semester, and I got put on academic probation and stuff. And I had good grades through high school, and I was doing really well, but I did not apply myself that first year. I ended up getting married at 20 years old. We actually had a child break before she was pregnant before we got married, unfortunately, and so we ended up getting married when we were 20, and she stayed home with our daughter, and I went to school, and I went to work. So I worked full time, went to school. I ended up getting 2 associate's degrees and 1 engineering degree, bachelor's degree. So I tell people I have 3 degrees, but technically it's 2 associates and 1 bachelor's. And anyways, I did that sort of part-time, so it took me a little bit longer than your traditional 4 years. And I worked, I was always working overtime. And I pretty much had 2 kids, married by the age I was 23. A lot of people are just getting out of college at that time.
A lot of responsibility.
Oh yeah. And we went to church. We did everything that I was brought up in. We did the same thing. We made sure we found a church, made sure we got the kids involved, in vacation Bible school and to Sunday school and to going to church. And I even was part of the basketball team and softball team that our church had and different things like that. So I got involved. We were in a small group, and so we did all those type of things as well. But it was almost like I had a mask on. Here I am, small group. Here I am, church. And then I take that mask off, and I was a totally different person. And even that, that was in my 20s, and and then it snowballed from there. So. I got my degrees. I got my, had good jobs, got promotions, was doing well in my career, but there was a lack of focus in my marriage. And I think it was, look at me, look what I've accomplished, here I am, teenage pregnancy, got married young, everyone's gonna say, you're never gonna make it, and here I am, now I'm an engineer, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, it was like, look at me, look at what Scott has done. Never gave credit to God for anything that was going on in my life at that time, and I struggled. I struggled with a lot of different things, and my marriage struggled for the same reasons. So, well, with our first marriage, I always considered a roller coaster, and it was definitely a roller coaster ride. We had our ups and downs. We had our good times, bad times. I loved the family setting. We did a lot of stuff together as a family, and I was always there for my kids. I coached my kids every sport. My daughter's soccer, and then baseball for my son, basketball, upward, all this stuff. I did all the dad stuff. I was always coaching, and the reason I coach is because I wanted to be there. I want to make sure I was at every game. I want to make sure I was involved in stuff. And plus, I have a passion for sports in the first place. I might not have the God-given talent, but I have the knowledge up here to be able to, I know what I can teach, and I can do things like that, and I can organize. And I even at the church we were going to, I even ran the sports ministry there. We had multiple softball teams, and I organized that. We actually had church league teams and rec teams that I was in. We had a basketball league that was in that I had a team in, and I organized that. Coached, played, organized. So the whole sports ministry. Well, when we got divorced, they asked me to step down from that, which was fine. I stepped down and handed it off to somebody else. But what was funny is I was still behind the scenes. These guys were always calling me up and saying, "Hey, how'd you do this?" or "How'd you deal with this?" And so I was still involved, but I didn't have that title, sports ministry title type thing. And I even ran a church league. I ran the whole church league there was probably about 12 to 15 different teams, churches that were in this thing that I ran as well. So if you look at it, I was on the outside, I had all this stuff. I was always involved, always doing something. But on the inside, it was totally different. It's almost like I was constantly going through the motions. I knew better, but I was constantly going through the motions. And when the marriage started failing and there was issues in the marriage, we ended up going to counseling. We went to a lot of different counselors. We actually went to 3 different marriage counselors. And a lot of times I wasn't truthful in what I said, or not necessarily truthful, but I just didn't share. I looked at the counseling and I was like, oh, this is mainly for her. She wants to go or we want to go. And there was some stuff that was in there that helped us. That would be one of the highs on our roller coaster ride, and then all of a sudden I do something stupid or something happened in our relationship, and unfortunately it ended, and it was really hard on my kids. And I don't necessarily think that they blame me for what all that happened, but they did I don't want to say side with their mom, but they were more there for their mom than I was. And it was probably because I made the money in the house. She was always home. She was always there for us. So I think it was they felt that they needed to take care of their mom now that I was out of the picture type thing. And I always tried to be there. I was there for their graduations. I was helping them pay for school. Buying them the cars. And working on the cars, doing whatever. Financially helping them out. So I was there as the financial dad and tried to be there also in person. But when you're not there, physically there, it's hard to do that. When I'm in a different home than where they're at, it's hard to be there. We tried to do the Christmases. I'd come over for Christmas and give them, and she just said, it's just too hard. It's too hard for us. We're not married. We're not a family. It's just too hard for us to do this. So that was sort of a difficult time. And even that was during the divorce time or the separation. And I just remember times where I just felt so lonely. After my marriage, I was dating. I had some serious relationships and stuff like that, but I still felt lonely. I felt so lonely. And it was weird because it's like, well, why am I feeling this way? And it was because I was missing that family setting. I was missing my kids. I was missing different things. And like I said earlier, it felt like God just came down and just hit me upside the head and said, it's time. It's time. I'm gonna do a good work in you. I'm gonna do my purpose in your life right now. And it just clicked. And I think you even said there was one of these questions on here that says, when did it click? And we'll get into that a little bit later, but that's one of the things I want to get into also. But I realized, and I remember apologizing, going to apologize to different people. I called my kids up and apologized to them. I called my ex up and apologized to her and just different things like that. Just other people that I felt like I've hurt or have done wrong to in my past. And people are like, oh, I didn't take it that way. I didn't think of that. But, apologies sometimes just don't cut it with some people. Some people are still going to see you as who you were, and that's always going to be their way. And it's unfortunate, but God sees me a different way. And I got to keep that in my mind, that God sees me as someone different, someone that he can use. And so that's where we're at right now. One of the biggest things that I've talked about, especially in small group, is feeling unworthy for everything, And I was even asked, when I was asked to be a small group leader for this fraternity, I said I got to pray about it. And what I was praying about is just that sense of unworthiness. Who am I to be able to lead a small group with the past I've had? I can't even have a successful marriage. How am I going to lead another? What if someone comes up to me and asks me a question about divorce or something that they're going through? And every single time I thought of my story, the things I went through, I didn't want to talk about it because I felt like if I talked about it and I helped someone, then I'm sort of justifying what I did. And that wasn't the case. That was Scott thinking different things. And it took a long time for me to forgive myself. And because I knew God forgave me. I know these other people forgave me. But it took me a long time just to forgive myself for the things and the way I acted. And, it's still a struggle. I'm not 100% there. It's always going to be an uphill battle. People look at me and say, I remember Scott Sabo, how he was. or I remember, this happened or whatever. But for the most part, I just gotta look to God and say, what's next? What's the next? Keep me on that path. What's the next step in the plan? So, okay. So the after relationships, I had a few relationships that didn't work out after my divorce. I just wanted to take some time for myself. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to date anybody. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say 3 months. Thought 3 months was a good time. I don't know why I picked 3 months, but I just picked 3 months. And I said, God, just lead me where you want me to go. If you want me to be single for the rest of my life, so be it. I know it's going to be a struggle, but so be it. And I was working in Cary at the time, and I just met somebody and just started talking to her, and it was Renee. Renee O'Flaherty was her maiden name, and Renee West, I guess, was her maiden name. And she, we just started talking. I told her straightforward. So listen, I don't mind hanging out. I don't mind, talking and stuff like that, but I need some time. I need some time just to reflect. I need time, and some people say, "Well, I just need some time to find myself." Well, it wasn't really that. I wanted God to do His thing in my life, and I was supposed to take my mom to a Trans-Siberian Orchestra concert, and it was in December, and she's like, "Okay, that sounds good. Let's go." So we're gonna have to do this. The first time we've ever done anything like this. We're gonna do this, and she starts watching the videos, and she's, "Oh no, that's too much. That's too much." She's, "My heart won't be able to take that stuff." I'm like, "She's, are you sure you can't get somebody else to go?" I go, "You sure you don't want to go?" She's like, "No, I just don't think I can." She likes the hymns and the piano guys and those type of things, and she's like, "It just seems like it's too much." I said, "Okay." So I was talking to Renee about it. She goes, "Well, I'll go," and I said, "Okay." So we decided to go, and it was great. We had a good time there, and we had good seats and just a great time, and we started talking more and more after that. And so technically that was our first date, even though we didn't say we weren't official. And I had been talking to her right before then. This was in December, so like in Thanksgiving, I'm talking to somebody, but we're not serious, this kind of thing. But we hung out a couple times. We went to Dave and Buster's with her family and just different things like that. But we weren't dating, until right after Christmas. After Christmas, I decided, you know what? I feel God has led this person into my life. And so we didn't really officially start dating until the day after Christmas, the 26th of December. And we did the carriage ride that they have in Upper there. And I got the last one. And this was maybe a week before. Normally you got to do it a month in advance. And there was just one left on the 26th. So I took her there, and we went, and I sort of made it official. And I gave her this bracelet. And, we've only been together, or hanging out, I guess, for a little over a month at this time, and or talking for a little over a month. And I gave her this bracelet. It was one of these Pandora bracelets, and it had different things on there. And I introduced her to the Star Wars movies, so I got her a Star Wars one. And I introduced her to, we went to the concert, and one of her favorite songs that they play is, it's Carol of the Bells, I think it's called. And so I got her a little thing, had a bell on there and stuff, and it was one of those charms for that. And then I got her the carriage, and there's a carriage on her Pandora. So she had 3 different ones on there that I gave it to her. And she's like, "Oh," so that was sort of our first official day, the day after Christmas. And so we dated for 3 years. I told her, I said, I really want to do things right. I want to, when I first got married, I was 19 years old, 19, 20 years old, and we were teenage pregnancy. And I said, I want to do things right. Let's take it slow. So we, she lived in Sycamore, right outside of Upper. I live in Arlington, and we saw each other at work because we were still working in the same place at the time, and so we'd see each other, and we'd go to church together, come pick her up on Sunday mornings. We were in a small group together, and I'd come there, and so we had that going on, and it was about 3 years that we dated, and I really wanted to make sure that things were right and stuff. Well, we talked about getting married, so she's like, "Well, when do you want to do this?" And Steve Sturgeon comes up to me and says, "Hey, pastor is wondering when you guys get married. Is what you're waiting on." I'm like, "Man, everyone's pressuring me to get married." And so anyways, we talked about it. We went and looked at some rings. I think we went to one of the concerts out in it was Point Fest over at Cedar Point, and they had some Christian groups out there that we went and saw, and we stopped out there afterwards or morning. It was sometime during that time, and we looked at some rings. So I had an idea of what she liked. Well, a month later, I went and got the ring, and she had no idea. And I was making payments on it, all this kind of stuff. And I told her, I said, let's wait until after the new year, after Christmas, all that kind of stuff, and then maybe we'll go and look at it again and stuff. So she had no idea. She's thinking it's going to be sometime in 2020. And I said, we know what we need to do. We need to go for a Trans-Siberian Orchestra date again. Let's go again. Like a 3-year anniversary would be great. She's like, yeah. And then everyone's like, oh, that would be a great time to propose and stuff. I said, well, no, we're going to wait. We're going to wait. I mean, even my mom, she's like, oh, great. And no, we're going to wait. So at the concert, get down. I had nobody there. Nobody knew it. I gave my phone to somebody and said, here. And I go, can you take a picture of us? And I got on one knee and proposed during her favorite song. And everyone's like getting up there cheering and they're clapping and stuff. And I had one of my guys that I used to work with a while ago come up and goes, hey, congratulations. Then he comes back. He goes, hey, it's Sabo. He goes, congratulations. He had no idea. He just saw some guy, and so Renee had no idea. My mom calls me up and she's like, I can't believe I had to wait till Facebook to see that I asked you, you lied. I said, I didn't lie to you. I just wasn't going to tell anybody. So Renee had no idea. So we set the date for June 13th of this year, and then COVID happened. And she's like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I said, we got it. Don't worry. So we had a small wedding, which is family, and it was outside. It was at Camp Trinity. Beautiful wedding. Everything worked out, and this was a great time. We decided to wait on the honeymoon. We're going to go on a Caleb cruise in January, the end of January 2021. But right now, we're not sure if that's going to happen because of the whole COVID thing. So we're just praying about it, seeing what happens. But she moved to Arlington with me here, and we're looking at staying here for a little bit in my bachelor pad, as I call it, and then we're going to probably get something different around this area. Her son is moved from Upper to Arlington School, so he's had a chance this summer to meet some people, and he's actually working at the pizza place down the street and stuff. So things are just sort of falling into place. So far, we're newlyweds right now. It's only been a couple months, but I see God's got some great plans for us. And so Renee and I both were previously married. We have similar stories. She got married when she was young, had kids when she was young. I mean, we were both, early 20s, teens, early 20s. So we both have similar stories, and we're both unfortunately divorced. So it was interesting because around that same time, so around 2015, when I rededicated myself to God, she was going down the same path. She was searching. She was doing things as well, and it was interesting to see how God worked in her life separately than mine, and then how it came together. And God's about grace. He gives us grace, and I think a lot of times it's about second chances too. You think about the story of the prodigal son. He had everything. I want my inheritance, and he went on his own. And not until he hit rock bottom did he finally come back. And he came back, and he's thinking, maybe my dad will let me be one of the servants. And his dad come back and had his arms, and he's like, welcome, I look at that story, and I had to hit rock bottom before I realized what I needed to do. What God had in store for me and stuff. And it's second chances. We don't all get second chances, and I've been fortunate that God's given me a second chance at doing things right, doing things what He wants me to do, not what Scott wants me to do. And Renee feels the same way. She's always saying that, maybe we had to go through what we went through to get to where we're at right now. And I'm like, that's true. Unfortunately, I don't want to have to go through that, but God's been able to use so many. I mean, you think about all the Bible stories, all the men in the Bible. Moses, he murdered someone, but God still used him to lead his people out of Egypt. David, you hear all these stories about David. I mean, he had an affair and he killed that husband, and yes, he lost his child, but if you look at it, that same Bathsheba and David's child is Solomon, one of the greatest kings to ever live, one of the wisest ones. God was able to use that situation to His glory. And I think about Paul as well. Paul murdered Christians, and he's wrote majority of the New Testament. He's got a huge story. If God can use those people who've done those things where everyone probably looked down on them, He can use me. And that's what's so cool about the second chance, is that I'm not proud of my past. And there's probably tons of people out there that'll point, look at him, and still judge me and say, oh, I know a lot about Scott Sabo, and may not even ever think that I could be anything different. But God sees me a different way, and He's going to have His way in my life because I've just given it all to Him. Here's a train wreck. Here, fix it. It's yours. Do what you need to do with it. So and Renee's right there with me. I mean, she's I don't know. It's cool. It's cool how he's taken two broken people, two people that hit rock bottom, and made something out of it. And here we are learning and growing together. So as a couple and as followers